The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Applied to a family line, that sentence names the secret role so many inherit without consent, the one shaped to break what others could not. Families don't just pass recipes and lullabies, they transmit unhealed grief, rigid patterns, and the stories used to hide them. The chosen one doesn't volunteer at first. Life drafts them, then keeps pressing until the disguise no longer fits. The signal often appears early, a bone-deep sense of difference. Not quirky taste, but the feeling of standing in a room where everyone else has the script and you do not. You read tension beneath polite talk, hear what is not said, and notice truths no one will name. Jung would call this individuation stirring, the self refusing to live under the family persona. Chosen rarely means celebrated. More often it brings labels: too sensitive, difficult, rebellious. In reality, the person is carrying the family shadow, the unspoken sorrow, the avoided conflict, the taboo memories. Here lies the paradox: the one bearing the medicine is rejected by those who most need it. This path has spiritual gravity. Many traditions suggest a soul in the lineage agrees to confront what others could not. That agreement does not make life easier, it makes it real. Trials arrive that strip illusion and force a choice: repeat the story or write a truer one. Jung called individuation a hero's journey from unconsciousness to wholeness. For the chosen one, that journey is personal and profoundly collective. Each step toward integrity shifts the weather of the whole line. It often begins in isolation. You try to blend, to wear the mask, to silence the voice that whispers something is off. But crises arise: conflict, betrayal, breakdown, that tear the costume. They are not punishments, they are initiations. There is no coming to consciousness without pain, Jung wrote. The chosen one learns this in the body. Consider Maya. She sensed the unsaid rules at home, subjects that never surfaced, anger that hummed under small talk. She performed goodness, grades, smiles, quiet, but silence grew expensive. Questions came: why don't these relatives speak? Why is the drinking ignored? Why does love feel conditional? Resistance met every question, yet the pressure clarified purpose. Discomfort wasn't a flaw. It was her inner compass refusing collusion. This is the mark of the chosen one. Mere presence disturbs illusions. Projection lands on them, others' shame, fear, and failure pasted onto a single back. Jung's work on shadow projection predicts the script: the truth teller becomes the scapegoat. With awareness, the role is returned to sender. What was thrown never belonged to them. Reclaiming power begins inward. Rather than rescuing or lecturing, they inventory their own wounds, sit with pain, and integrate shadow. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That alchemy frees energy trapped in denial and returns it to creativity and love. The healing ripples backward and forward in time, loosening knots around ancestors and softening burdens for children not yet born. If these sentences ring like a bell, know the pain wasn't random. There is a reason you see what others ignore, why your questions disrupt rooms, why belonging never quite fit. You carry a sacred assignment: to stand at the crossroads and choose differently. The work is costly, but loneliness is not the final word. Around the world, other cycle breakers are walking beside you, torches in hand, learning to turn inherited darkness into fuel. From here a practical question arises: how to recognize the role clearly? The signs hide in plain sight: a lifelong sense of misunderstanding, a history of absorbing other people's storms, uncanny intuition about family dynamics, and the inability to keep pretending once truth is seen. Naming the signs matters because language gives the nervous system a handle. Once you can point and say this is what's happening, you can stop arguing with your nervous system and start guiding it. The first unmistakable clue is the lifelong feeling of being misunderstood. Not everyone has to get you for your path to be real. But the body knows when mirroring is absent. The ache to be seen isn't weakness, it's information. It marks the gap between who you were trained to be and who you are. Bridging that gap is the work, and the privilege, of a lifetime. As the role clarifies, compassion must sit beside boundary. Compassion says the system shaped everyone with the tools it had. Boundary says the shaping stops here. Together they let you love without lying. The task isn't to exile yourself or to convert anyone. The task is to live truth so cleanly that falsehood cannot recruit you. That fidelity becomes a lighthouse. Even resistors eventually steer by it, especially on nights when storms roll in. There is a pattern that repeats across families. One person becomes the quiet container for everyone else's pain. No one writes the rule, yet everyone obeys it. Without being asked, one child absorbs the fear, carries the secrets, and smooths the storms so the system can keep moving. People call it maturity. In truth, it is conscription. Depth psychology calls this the identified patient, the one chosen, unconsciously, to hold the group's shadow. The role lands most often on the most perceptive nervous system. The person who hears tension in footsteps becomes the buffer that spares others from meeting their own feelings. It isn't fair, it is efficient for a struggling system. The clues accumulate. Relatives confide in you but not in each other. You mediate adult conflicts before puberty. You're praised for calm while shaking in private. When you finally ask for support, people go vague or vanish. Boundaries blur until crisis looks like purpose, endurance looks like love, and exhaustion looks like virtue. This is enmeshment, identity fused with the group's unmet needs. Maya lived this script. At 10 she coached a parent through breakups, soothed siblings at night, and prevented holiday blow-ups. 20 years later her body collapsed. Tests were clear, her calendar wasn't. She had been carrying everyone else's unfinished feelings. Only then did she recognize a hard truth: the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of its parents. The weight is emotional and energetic. It trains the body to scan for danger even at rest. Inside, opposites fight, a genuine urge to help, and a desperate need to be held. The conflict breeds guilt for having limits and resentment toward people you love. Hope narrows to one question: will life always feel this heavy? Hidden truth: the family entrusted the load to the strongest nervous system in the room. The role was never meant to be permanent. Your task is not to become the vault but the alchemist, changing the form of what was handed to you so the lineage can evolve. Alchemy here means turning inherited lead into usable gold, wisdom, boundaries, and compassion that do not require self-erasure. The pivot begins with 3 recognitions. First, much of what you carry is not, and never was, yours. Second, returning what is not yours is not cruelty, it is clarity. Third, clarity will upset people who benefited from your fog. Expect protests. Expect relief that arrives when your body believes you. Translate insight into action with small experiments. List 3 recurring burdens: confidences that leave you shaking, crises that always ring your phone first, tasks you perform to keep the peace. For each, prepare one clean sentence that returns responsibility. I can't hold this, here's a resource. I'm not available for that conversation. I trust you to handle this. Rehearse until your jaw softens. Then use them. Boundaries work best as habits, not announcements. Shorten visits. Choose neutral locations. Leave when voices rise. End late-night rescue calls. Replace long explanations with one line. Schedule recovery after contact, movement, water, light, and a page of writing that lets your body say what your mouth didn't. Over weeks, the nervous system learns a new baseline, calm without overdoing. Guilt will try to boomerang. Meet it with adult definitions. Love and rescuing are not the same act. Responsibility and control are not the same power. Loyalty that costs your health is not loyalty, it is training. I am allowed to be well even when others are not. What changes in the wider system when you set the weight down? Friction. People who relied on your labor will frame clarity as coldness. When you stop absorbing, others face their own choices, grow, find other supports, or repeat the pattern without you. All three reveal truth. None require your collapse. You can honor history without obeying it. Try a small ritual. Place a stone in your hand for every burden you've carried for someone else. Name it, fear, anger, grief, and set the stone down. A practical reallocation. Service remains after the stones are placed. When carrying ends, service becomes true. You help by standing beside rather than underneath, by listening without absorbing, by offering resources without breaking your body. Your presence shifts from sponge to mirror, reflecting truth back with respect for other people's agency. If you recognize yourself here, this is the second sign of the chosen one. You were given the weight because you could transmute it, not because you were meant to keep it. Today the choice is simple and brave. Continue holding what was never yours, or return it gently, bless it, and walk lighter toward the life that needs your full energy. Stepping out from under the family shadow is not abandonment. It is the only way anyone in the story gets a real chance to grow. It often begins before anyone can name it. A child enters a room and knows who fought last night. No one speaks, air is heavy. Teachers say imagination, relatives say oversensitivity. The inner radar hums, strong in crowds, loudest around smiles that hide storms. Years later that child, now an adult, leaves conversations strangely exhausted. This isn't random, it is early awakening. The psyche speaks in symbols before sentences. Dreams bring empty houses, wild animals, rising oceans. Coincidences cluster, a phrase repeats, the same number flashes, one door shuts as another opens. Clustering is synchronicity. Chaos reveals a corridor. Untrained, the gift hurts. Empathy without skill becomes absorption. Moods are swallowed, people's stories settle like stones, the body stays braced as if danger never ends. Many mistakes scanning for kindness. In truth, it is hypervigilance learned where truth was unstable and safety conditional. A complex activates, the body reacts before the mind understands. Eliza's childhood shows it. She predicted her father's shutdown by the sound of his shoes. She deflected storms with jokes and distracted siblings before thunder. As an adult, strangers confided within minutes. Afterwards she lay awake, heavy with borrowed sorrow. Change began when empathy became directional. Notice before merging, witness before fixing, ask one precise question instead of absorbing a life. The gift didn't shrink, it sharpened. This is the threshold, from porous to present. Porous identification fuses with another's emotion and calls it love. Present differentiation remembers, This feeling is here, but not all of it is mine. That sentence shifts the center of gravity. Shoulders drop. Breath returns. The radar still receives, yet the volume finally has a dial. Another sign is intuition that outpaces logic. The chosen one senses which door will open before touching the handle. Intuition reads pattern beneath the surface. As shadow is faced and projections retrieved, it grows reliable because it no longer tangles with fear or fantasy. Grounded intuition doesn't beg or shout. It points. Noah's story clarifies this. An inner line repeated, "This is ending so something true can begin." He left a steady job with no tidy plan. Weeks later, an acquaintance offered work that braided psychology, storytelling, and community. From outside it seemed reckless, from inside inevitable. Something deeper had arranged what the mind couldn't justify. With intuition rises the urge to heal what hurt. The wounded healer archetype stirs. Being pierced opens access to medicine. Many feel drawn to guiding, creating, and caring. Here is the hazard: trying to help while the inner wound still bleeds. Unintegrated pain recruits saviorhood, fixing to avoid feeling. Correction is firm, personal healing first, service from overflow, not depletion. A small practice protects that order. Before helping, ask 3 questions. Is this mine? Do I have energy? Will this actually help? Body answers first. If the belly tightens or the jaw locks, the boundary is speaking. Loneliness may rise, and company won't cure it. The feeling isn't failure, it's a mask loosening. What once fit now chafes. Conversations that used to soothe skim the surface. This necessary separation from the collective persona cracks the clan's mask. Beneath it, a truer face can breathe. Ritual steadies the in-between. Use simple anchors. Morning asks, "What is mine today?" Evening returns what doesn't belong, back to its source, with love. Take a weekly phone-free walk. Spend time with water, showers that clear static, tea that signals presence. These small altars tell the nervous system it is safe to center. Dreams intensify, and symbols echo in waking life. Owls before insight, snakes during transformation, wolves when it's time to own teeth. Dream houses mirror the psyche, basements as unconscious, attics as ideas, locked rooms as potentials not yet visited. Keep a brief log, date, 3 sentences, 1 felt meaning. Patterns appear, the psyche becomes a guide. As work deepens, the past softens. Early awakening often begins with anger, at family, at fate, at a body that feels too much. As shadow integrates, anger yields to clarity. Compassion arrives, not to excuse harm, but to end inner war. Opposites reconcile, strength with tenderness, truth with kindness, boundary with love. You notice fewer arguments, cleaner no's, warmer yes, and a tone that no longer performs. Another power appears. It isn't loud. It is steady, lived alignment, thoughts, words, and actions match. Doors close and grief is allowed. Doors open and gratitude is truly real. Through both, the center holds. Traits that once made life harder, sensitivity, intuition, compassion, become anchors when trained. Early awakening was never punishment. It was preparation. Preparation points to the next sign, ending repetition of the bloodline's training and breaking the pattern in private and in public. The move isn't rebellion for its own sake. It is fidelity to truth. The old story loosens, a cleaner, braver, kinder one takes its place. that is where the path goes next. One day the old script fails. The peacekeeping joke falls flat. The automatic yes does not leave the mouth. This hinge moment marks generational change. Stop rehearsing the role, start speaking truth. The room may go quiet, but the silence now makes space for truth. Insight matters, action rewires fate. First changes are private, unanswered midnight texts when chaos arrives, shorter visits for sanity, ending conversations when voices rise. These are not attacks, they are self-respect in motion. Maya's Tuesday carried that turn. For years her mother called late to replay heartbreaks while Maya soothed past midnight. That night the phone lit. A hand met the heart. The old pull surged, then paused. She sent a clean line, "Early morning tomorrow. Call Sunday so I can be present." Shaming replies arrived. She breathed, stayed steady, and called on Sunday, rested and brief. The sky did not fall. A pattern cracked. Public pattern breaking follows. It sounds like, "That didn't happen that way." Or, "We don't blame children for adult choices." Or, "I won't discuss her when she isn't here." The aim isn't to win, it is to place reality on the table. In systems work, that is shadow integration, what was denied is named, what was hidden acknowledged, and burdens carried by one returned to many. Eliza faced this at a dinner when a relative framed harm as humor. Earlier she would have smiled and swallowed. This time she said, "That was painful, not funny." The table stalled, then the night moved on. Not a movie ending, a new reference point. Each aligned act teaches the body it can live without appeasement. Discomfort is heat, consistency the crucible. Fruits follow, fewer migraines, deeper sleep, more ease, and the sense that life moves through you, not only to you. Old roles try to recruit. The martyr warns, "If you don't give, they'll suffer." The savior insists, "Only you can fix this." Those voices are familiar, their authority gone. New lines answer, "That isn't my job. That belongs to you. I won't hold what isn't mine." Each sentence returns projection to its source and releases energy for creation rather than containment. Ending the old economy exposes hidden bargains. Silence buys inclusion, self-abandonment buys approval, overwork buys crumbs of praise. When you stop signing, consequences appear. Some ties cool. Invitations thin. Certain people test, shame, or withdraw. It stings, yet pain becomes information rather than a stop sign. Practical anchors make the shift durable. Choose neutral locations. Keep visits short. Set exit plans and keep them without apology. After contact, recover, a walk, water, clean food, one page of writing. Repetition builds reflexes. Reflexes turn change into character. Workplaces and friendships shift too. You stop being the free therapist or the emergency contact. Learn the difference between intimacy and intensity. Not every urgent voice earns access. The empathic gift is not lost, it is refined. The listener remains, but listening grows discerning. The healer remains, but healing no longer requires self-erasure. The artist remains, but art now carries the weight of a life with boundaries. Presence replaces performance. Spiritual reframes help. Many were taught that protection is selfish, truth unkind, boundaries mean. Test and retire those beliefs. A higher pairing emerges. Love without truth breeds dependency, truth without love breeds violence. Gather both. let no be as sacred as yes. Calm returns not from absorbing chaos but from refusing to amplify it. Jonah's story shows the shift. Trained to disappear, he grew accomplished and invisible. Promotions arrived, intimacy did not. He traced the bargain, earned love by vanishing, and practiced small edits, stating preferences, declining meetings that weren't his job, telling friends he needed rest. When his father tossed a barbed joke, he answered without heat, "Insults aren't jokes to me." No debate followed. Driving home, he noticed something simple: space. That space is the goal, room to feel, choose, and build. It isn't empty, it is fertile. Use it to plant rituals, friendships, and work that match who you are becoming. Energy once trapped in rehearsing the past now fuels learning, creation, and service. Shadow work bears fruit: clearer intuition, warmer humor, deeper rest, steadier days. A common worry appears: am I becoming cold? Check the fruit. If the nervous system is softer, relationships cleaner, the inner voice kinder, the path is sound. Another question: how do I continue when backlash comes? Community is the answer. Share firsts: a first no, a first truth told, a first holiday redesigned. Breaking the pattern is not the end, it is the gate. On the other side waits purpose, less slogan, more shape. You do not only stop what harms, you start what heals. Energy freed from survival becomes a path that serves more than the self. Next comes blueprint: from boundary to building, from saying no to living a deeper yes. There is a moment when survival no longer sets the tempo. After patterns crack and energy returns, a new question rises: if the old story no longer decides the day, what does? That pull is purpose, a way of being that leaves steady footprints across weeks. Clues appear as lanterns. Ideas arrive warm and clear. Invitations feel like recognition, not luck. Risk remains, but fear loses the wheel. Meaning reframes difficulty, hard talks become muscles, failures become data, and the nervous system learns a kinder loop. Purpose clarifies through 4 living pillars: vision, vessel, village, and vow. Vision is a felt picture of 7 aligned days. If the qualities that matter, clarity, beauty, service, freedom, devotion, shaped this week, what would be seen? Put answers in calendars and conversations: mornings that restore, work that matters, reciprocity in relationships. Vessel is the body and structure that hold that picture. Without a vessel, purpose leaks. Sleep, food, movement, light, and environment are spiritual technologies. Guard them like an artist guards brushes. Let the phone sleep outside the bedroom, walk before meetings, keep a weekly Sabbath. Vessel is permission for the center to stay seated. Village is the circle that keeps honesty alive. Individuation is personal, flourishing is communal. Gather a few who speak clarity and kindness: mentors, peers, newer travelers. Village is a covenant, not a crowd. We tell the truth, we celebrate, we rest, we return what is not ours. Vow is the rule that decides under pressure. 3 lines can carry a season: no self-betrayal for belonging. No truth without love. No love without truth. When fatigue tempts old bargains, the vow answers. It ends calls when respect leaves and protects work. Stories make the pillars real. With late-night rescues retired, Maya followed a quiet pull. She hosted small circles for those carrying family shame, weaving simple body practices with clean language. Rooms stayed quiet. People returned for depth, not drama. No grand mission, just a tended flame. Jonah's turn took another shape. As invisibility loosened, humor returned, warm. He saw men trained to succeed without feeling. A few talks became dinners a monthly group. They spoke about anger without ridicule, grief without apology, love without performance. Balanced inner partners produced balanced outer life. Because drift is natural, keep a weekly alignment audit. 3 columns: aligned, almost, not yet. Under aligned, list rhythms and relationships that match your vow. Under almost, name small edits: 5% more rest, 10% more honesty, 1 clearer boundary. Under not yet, name what still drains. Choose 1 small, repeatable shift. Blueprints become buildings 1 brick at a time. Service matures here. Early service tries to prove worth by being needed. Mature service pours from overflow. The question changes from how can saving make me valuable, to what is mine to give that stays true even if unseen. Some gifts go public: programs, art, community work. Others stay small and holy: meals, mentorship, tenderness at home. Alchemy happens at every scale. Keep the body in the conversation or purpose will burn out. Use 3 somatic anchors: ground through the feet before hard talks, lengthen the exhale when the mind races, and roll the shoulders after setting a boundary so the neck and jaw don't store words. Tiny moves, long arcs. Let symbols support direction. Dreams often confirm what daylight doubts. Write 3 lines each morning and circle 1 felt meaning. In waking life, treat recurring animals, numbers, and phrases as friendly signposts rather than commands. Partner with life, don't outsource choices to it. Community strengthens the field. Invite people to name 1 vow for the week, 1 boundary to honor, and 1 small act that expresses purpose. Reading shared commitments dissolves the lie of isolation and turns insight into practice. When resistance surfaces, meet it with adult definitions. Love is not endless availability. Integrity is not cruelty. Boundaries protect the mission. Sensitivity is strength in service of truth. Return what is not yours with love. Give what is yours with devotion. A brief cadence keeps everything warm. Morning, what is mine today? Noon, 3 questions before yes. Night, drains, restores, 1 repair. Add a weekly Sabbath and a monthly review. Simple, rhythmic, sustainable. The arc becomes visible. The task was never to live at war with a bloodline, but to end an old war within it. Pain signaled the doorway. Shadow work supplied tools. Boundaries made space. Purpose now fills that space with work, love, and beauty that could not exist while survival ran the day. Loud courage isn't required, steady fidelity is. As this chapter closes, distill the blueprint into 1 pocket sentence and let the week answer it. If a door stays closed, bless it and keep moving. Another opens that fits the life you are finally willing to live.